I'm going to see if I can repair an Xbox 360 with a red ring of death. How hard could this be? Hi guys, Retro Tech Ralph, yes. I've been watching a stack load of videos about the 360s. People repairing them, people not repairing them. It's funny how a lot of them don't go back to them a year later. What, did it work? Did it not work? I suppose maybe in the comments they actually would show anything. But I'm going to try and go through if any of them actually work. Now, this 360 came to me. It was actually a few years ago. I went to a person's house. He says, "Oh, I've got a boxed Xbox 360. The box isn't brilliant, but it's still 360. I walked away from it, and he says, "Oh yeah, it's my son's." And yeah, he used to play all the time. And then I was about to walk away with the box, and oh, it says something about a red ring. And I went, oh, my heart sank. However, I think I have another 2 of these 360 fat ones, and I think 1 or 2 of the slims as well. So it's not like I'm lacking in Xbox 360s. It's not a problem. Thing with this one, it needs testing. It had the red ring. I'm not sure exactly what the red ring situation was, but we're going to go through this now. I'm going to set this up. I'm going to try and put it on the television. Yeah, I'm going to set the camera up so you can see me switching this on. Just give me a second. Okay, it's on the desk, ready, set up. Television in the right channel. I've not turned the plug on yet over here because I want to show you what is exactly wrong with this, and I don't even know myself. I've had this in here about 3 years and I've just completely ignored it because it didn't work. But let's see what the faults are. So power on. I have an orange light on the power supply down here. So whether or not that actually means something or not, I don't know, and I can't really put that somewhere you can see it either. Okay, just think, you can just see it there. Good. So power on. Spools up, flashing away. This works. This is going to be very embarrassing. There we go. Right. We have sections 1, 3 and 4. There are ways of doing this for the error code, and I just need to look into that now, how to read, because I have watched the video. I just need to see exactly what I'm supposed to be doing with this before I do anything. So 1 second. Right. First things first. It's showing 3 sections of the red and the green light in the middle's flashing, which is kind of a little bit of worry to me anyway. But one video I've got on here which shows you press the sync button and the eject button. So they should reset that. Right, so the error code is, that's flashing all. So that's a 0 apparently. 1. 0. 2. Okay, so 0, 1 or 2. And that's back to there. So I need to know what an error code 0, 1 or 2 is for the Xbox. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to find an error code. Microsoft is full of error codes, but honestly don't know where to look for to find it. 0, 1 or 2. Okay. Absolutely stacks. E105. So they do all the things like take the hard drive out, unplug your cable on the back for the TV, the AV cable. Not quite sure what I'm doing, but now I know what the code is, a 0, 1 or 2. Let's see where we can go from there. Okay. Error 0, 1 or 2 is a GPU failure. So that doesn't look real good actually to get this fixed. I'll have a go. There's a reflowing technique that I've seen using flux and a lot of heat, but I'll do if I do the GPU or do the CPU at the same time. However, there's another method I've seen a video on what somebody's done, and apparently it worked for him, but I assume it was a perfectly working Xbox at the time. So, right, what his suggestion is pressing the power and the eject at the same time, but then holding in, or at least holding not fully open, the tray. I'm not sure if that works or not, or whether or not he's just doing it just for a laugh. So, flashing green. That's not even come open. Okay, so off, Well, that doesn't seem to work. Okay, does the drive actually work at all then? I don't think the drive actually works either. The drive on the top, I've only put a 20, there's a 20 gig hard drive in there, which is completely useless anyway. Can't even get into the drive. I mean, the flashing power button is not what I've seen in other videos. So technically, this might need a full teardown, a clean. Now, I'll have a look at the power supply as well. But for so far, this is not looking good. But we'll have a go. We'll see what I can do. Right, back on the bench. I'm going to start with opening the drive up, because that is obviously a small issue. They do recommend on the Xbox side taking off the front faceplate, which you can just easily, with the older ones you can pull off anyway. There's nothing screwed in, just a clip on the bottom, clip on the top, easy. And you want to put a paper clip or something like that in there. Now, I don't have a paper clip to hand. I just hope I've got something else very quickly to hand while I'm doing this. A screwdriver, which isn't long enough. Tweezers. One fork of the tweezer. Oh, that's close. Can I go underneath it instead? It might get a bit easier. No. Give me a second again, I'm going to get a paper clip. Screwdriver. Very small screwdriver got, and it fits. So that's now opened up, and unfortunately, there is no... yeah, there's no game in there, unless it's really, really stuffed in there at the moment. So, that might need a free. It might be working fine. That might be the reason why it's not opening, because of the GPU issue. I'm going to still try and use the power supply and the power button. But I'm not quite sure. It goes really deep inside with that anyway, so I need to put the front plate back on. So I need to plug back in again. Yeah, another cut. So with that out of the way now, I don't think it's going to be an easy fix, but I'm going to look at the power supply first. So what you need to do is take off the feet with a really dodgy pair of plastic pliers. Don't worry about these. The feet should come off and they should reveal a screw underneath. Once all 4 feet are off, I'll probably do something a bit more sharper. They pop off. Positive drive screw underneath, undo all 4, and then you're inside. Make sure the power supply cable's out before you do anything like this. Right, it took me half an hour to get into here. I assume that the person, or maybe even the manufacturer of this, has decided to put super glue on the top of every single one of the heads, or force them in too much. But I've rounded off one of the screws trying to get in, but that's not really the problem. There's a little bit of dampness on there. To get into the power supply, I'm mainly looking to see whether or not anything's damaged or anything's blown or anything, something like that. There's a little dirt down there, so I need to take this to pieces to clean. So, general prizing out once the screws are out. Possibly that screw there wants to come out. Shouldn't think so. I think these are glued in place. But it's still going to need a clean anyway. Oh, there's a lot of paste in there. That's quite interesting. So I think that is screwed into this bit there's actually stuck in. Forgive the dodgy screwdriver, but not much to hand. So remove that little screw on the side. Yes, right, so that's good. That is out. And so is the window for the power light, so make sure I put that back on afterwards. This is literally thermal paste caked on everything. Right, what I'm going to do, because on the front of here is, actually on the back there's the fan. Right, so I need to get into there anyway. It'll be a case of pull it off. Power supply shouldn't need to do anything with. I'll give it a good blowout and maybe look inside. The caps look fine from here, and it was working fine. Once this was plugged in, it was showing it was green. So that should be fine. I just want to blow out this, get a bit of clean, because our airflow is going to go through and round. Actually, it goes that way because the fan is there. So I'm going to strip that down and have a look and see, just to clean out. So you can see there. Yeah, lovely. Now unscrewing all the pins on here, there was 8. There's some lovely gunk and whatever in there. It's nothing major. There's a little bit underneath here. Looks like possible it's sucked something in, but the heatsink and everything does seem fine, and this will go back together without any new paste. I need to clean that fan out, which is free moving, so everything's fine. But it's just a little tip that you just need to do occasionally, is maybe just take the back off this and strip down. Easy enough to go back together again. It's just 8 screws back on. That goes on afterwards, after this plate. Then it all marries back together. And make sure you plug that in as well. So, now comes the hard part. I put this back together again. There's a nice breeze coming through the front on here where the fan was, so I'll clean that out. I think the thermal paste on here kind of, it goes a little bit, so probably it'd have been a better idea to reapply that, but I don't have that much paste to cover the entire heatsink of this. So, it's cleaned out. Any moist in there has been dried up with the like separation with the thermal paste. So, the next job's going to be getting inside here. Now there are a million videos, and I've seen other people cop out on that sort of thing, and oh yeah, follow those, they're amazing videos. It's going to take me a while to actually take it to pieces anyway. Certain bits are certain places where you can prod into. I need to clean the desk a little bit to try and get round, and I'm jumping straight to the actual straight to the board. This isn't a stripped down video for this. I know I'll take the front off, it pulls straight off. But I haven't got the space. I know there's tabs here which come off, but it's awkward to do. But there's also a lot of other bits like that needs to come off first, and that needs to come off first, the top and the bottom. So, unfortunately, if you're here for a teardown video, you're not going to get it. And this has already been broken off anyway. But I'm going to get straight from this to the motherboard, and we'll have a look inside, see if it needs cleaning to start with. If it doesn't, then we'll see where we can go from there. Now, while tearing down, there's 6 long screws that come through, these really long ones on here, go from the bottom up through these 6 holes on here. Definitely been smashed there and there. That one didn't want to come out, it's definitely been broken, but I have a piece of plastic, I'll put them up there, so you can see as we go along. Another piece came out. This is definitely, it's not the best of my work, however. Let's try and take that out. Okay, that's concerning. Why is that not plugged in? Is that the reason why it doesn't work? The connections are there. Now I'm tempted to actually plug it back in again and see if this works with that in. But it'd be alright without the chassis. So, unless I've just pulled that straight up without trying. There's a little bit of plastics everywhere. Grey, white. This is definitely the one that's the part which holds that final screw in that was going round. There's a bit missing as well. That's one of the tabs from the side. So yeah. This is a Toshiba one. Yeah, Toshiba drive. So I'm not quite certain what to do. There's a... This is just falling to pieces on me. I mean, yeah, that's okay. That's... Well, actually, that's definitely broke because these are all solid in. What I'm going to do... Another piece down there. This is the problem of getting second-hand stuff, or what... Oh, let's say younger people. I mean, these are old, and this is not that dirty on the inside anyway. There's another one. So, yeah. Doesn't look too bad in here. There's no caps in that look like they're being popped. There's no major dirt on anything, but it's still rattling. I'm going to plug the drive in. Then I'm going to power it up. Another piece fell out. Then I'm going to power it up and see what's what. So I'm not fully convinced this is actually broken. Warning, don't try this at home. Drive's in, drive's plugged in now. I need something sharp, small, and preferably made of plastic. prod the power supply button with. I really should have thought of this. There we go. Right, I can get the button which is underneath there. Possibly take that off just to see, but no. That button needs to be activated underneath here because I've got no... The button goes to that part down here. And the other button, the pairing button, where is that? Okay. Maybe I don't need it after all anyway. Right, I'm plugged in. Everything's on. Power supply's over there. And I'm using this power switch on the wall. Now that's on, and I've got an orange light on the power supply. So what I want to do is see... Ooh. So the yellow light, the green light's on. Powering up. Ah, we've got 3 red lights. But... the drive works. So what I want to do is... Where is that button for pairing? Is it down there? Can I put this back on, do you think? Power supply is at least less than. Right, okay, so turn that on. Let's try that other effort that he did before. Just pressing the power supply and the eject button. That's turned off. So that didn't seem to work. No. I've not pushed that in properly because it won't do it. Right. So my button for it is there at least. Right, so I just whirred at me. If I press that and that, it won't do anything, I know it won't. Right, so look at the power, 1, 0, 2. So it's looking at the same thing, unfortunately. Or fortunately, it's literally screaming at me what I need to do. See, that green button is still flashing. I'm holding this in like the video did suggest. It's an old video, and I'm still flashing on here. If you see my hand glowing there. So that's at least that sorted out and dismissed. So motherboard out, that out. Everything's got to be stripped down to the bare board, and then we're going to start to have a look at reflowing the solder. This is something I've never done before, but since it's broke, I've got literally nothing to lose. Now with all the screws out, got them all nicely in the parts, the front panel's off with 3 screws, the case is off with a load of gold ones, and the 8 that hold the clamps on are off as well. So now I need to remove, I can remove the board or I can remove the clamp. Have I missed something? No. Well, there is another piece of metal there that's come off. I'll find reuse for that later. It's not too important. It's just one of these holding on part off. Right, so that's fully out. Again, it's quite clean, this. I'm not sure whether or not I actually cleaned this out when I had it. I doubt it. These are a little bit bent out as well. That's not essential. There's a grey bit around the USB port on there. Burning, you can see there. I don't know why. Overheat from the front panel? I don't know. There are little bits on the board. Let me try and see if I can show one to you. It's on the other side anyway. Right, well this flux, possibly. I mean, there's no real... I am not an expert at this. There's lights down here. Yeah, that's a bit iffy. I'm not an expert on these. No way. Plus, I do like to play anyway. A little bit dark over here, corner. Thermal pads look really nice. Yeah, this one's a clamp taking off, and I do not have, and I knew I needed one of these. I was thinking about it the other week that I wanted one of these. So what you need to do is take the clamp off is by putting a screwdriver and gouging it straight through your motherboard. No, you haven't really. Small screwdriver you can pop off, because the clamp actually has like a little bit of a fork going underneath each one of these, and it just needs a bit of TLC, shall we say. So you can get it underneath there and pop off. That's one off there. And just lever in a little bit on the top of it. You do get these clamps which kind of go underneath, and then you can prise up from itself. You probably could do that with 2 screwdrivers anyway, but it's just a prong sort of adapter. We're doing it this way. You're not going onto the board, you're going onto the bottom half of the clamp. So you will be fine if you're doing this. You just need to take your time and a bit of patience. Right then, both the clamps are off. I had no problems at all. Right, whether you believe me or not, I don't know. Right, yeah, so onto the heat sinks. The bigger heat sink goes over here. Well, goes kind of there. So it goes sideways, and the other heat sink comes up here. Yeah, one's GPU, one's CPU. There's piping on there. It is definitely dry, the compound, so it does want a clean. So what I'm going to do, this is probably not going to be today, but this will be, yeah, this will be in the video. I need to clean all these, and then what the actual video wants you to do, one of them does state heat up the board, turn it over, heat up this side of the board. So I'll remove these, heat up this board so the board's nice and warm. Then turn over, bit more heat, but not too much, because these are going to melt anyway. Is you need a lot of flux around the edges of here and on here to reflow to the CPU and the GPU, and basically not do too much that would make the chips move. Keep them as they are. They want to be nice and warm, nice and hot, and for the solder to melt. So a heat gun or maybe a rework station, I don't fully know. Yeah, well, this is uncharted. If it works, this will be really good. But at the minute, it's actually really clean. It's just, yeah, I need to take the paste off, and then we'll prepare. Yeah, this could either go 2 ways. 1, it'll go really good, or 2, it'll go, well, I'll destroy it. What is slightly concerning while I'm cleaning the paste off these is both of the chips, the GPU, CPU, right on the tops, I've got like an oxidization on there. I mean, I think might be able to see it on this chip here. I mean, I cleaned a lot better, but it's kind of, there's bits on here which is quite weirdly burned, either burned on or it's scribed on. All I can do is keep cleaning. So I think it's not bad. It was a lot worse than this to start with, but I just need to get rid of everything, as much possible of the thermal paste as I can. I mean, some of these bits just don't want to come off. So I'm not using metal, everything's plastic. Plastic, and as hard as you dare to scrape them off with if you can. And lots of isopropanol. I mean, that is just, there is definitely a film of something on top of there. I'm slowly getting down it. I wouldn't recommend anything as more destructive than a piece of plastic. Just I say, enough to scrape, just to try and get as much off as I possibly can, and maybe just soak with isopropanol anyway. I am running out, by the way. So there's plenty in here. It's just, yeah, just needs to get up the spout. Not much in the bottle. So yeah, once this is cleaned, then I can get on with attempting to that's better. Nope. Attempt at setting up, yeah, for doing this. But it's going to be really cleaned, and I might put capstan tape around here so I don't heat up anything else. Okay, I'll work on this. Now, this is the next day, and this is a new angle for you, by the way. This is another part of the garage. Yeah, Hello vacuum cleaner, hello shrink wrap. Right, this is because I use a shrink wrap for wrapping up a lot of the stuff in here just to protect it in the garage in the winter. Yeah, I've got a heat gun, so I'm going to follow the basics of Borderline OCD's video where he reflowed the paste for the GPU and the CPU. GPU, CPU, see, I do learn. But what his idea is, flip over to the back. I'm going to remove these pads anyway. Heat the whole back of this. Constant motion on a nice steady heat for about a minute just to warm the board up. I might do a bit more because it is actually quite cold in here. I think outside it's like 5 degrees, 6 degrees, centigrade, Celsius, whatever. Fahrenheit, I have no idea. And yeah, it's going to get warmed up on the back of here just to heat up the board a little. Then I'm going to flip over, like he says, heat the whole lot again on this side, and hopefully everything should be fine. So the board will be nice and warm and ready, and it shouldn't have any danger of cracks or any other problems like that. What afterwards I'm going to do is I'm going to put flux around the GPU, all around the edge, and then the CPU, I'm good at this, and I will then heat each one of these chips for maybe about 4, possibly 5 minutes. Apparently that the chip itself should, the cracked molten solder underneath should start to flow around about a couple of minutes into it. I mean, I'll do quite intense heat on it. This will get to whatever degree anyway, so which is fine. But it should, if I knock it, then I've destroyed the board because I will never be able to put this back on properly. But it'll be a nice little, I don't know, I can strip it fully off for like a little art project or something. And I can't see a problem with trying this. Like I said earlier, I have got other Xbox 360s far off in the corner anyway, which work perfectly fine. So it's not like I'm resurrecting this from the dead or resurrecting it for a museum or for posterity or anything like that. I'm trying just because I'll have a try. So, right, I'm going to set you up for filming a bit closer, fast forward through the heating part, and hopefully this might work. Let's go. Okay, that's the heating process done. About 4 or 5 minutes on each, well, not on each chip, but between them, otherwise I just overload it. A little bit dark because I've got the garage door open because I'm next to the area where the door is, because there's a bit of fumes coming off from the flux. I could have done with a bit more, let's say, professional flux instead of something you use on pipe. Yeah, but it all does the same stuff, it's all the same similar sort of flux anyway, so it should hopefully flow the solder under the chips quite a lot. It's quite warm this, so what I'm going to do is leave this for quite a few hours to fully cool down, then I can clean it. There's a lot of dark spots where it's actually, yeah, it's gone brown, but that's perfectly fine. It's burnt flux, so it's been taking the heat anyway. So, might have worked, might not have worked. Let's see what happens. If it doesn't work, then, yeah, if it does, got it back from the dead. Right, back on the bench. I'm going to do a lot of cleanup on this, because if you can see, this is now cold, which is fine. Yeah, lovely and cold, that'll do me, no problem. A lot of crap and whatever else I need to clean off of here before I start reassembling and testing whether or not... There's no guarantees this is going to work, but I'm going to get this to a certain part where I can actually test it. I could try again. What's that noise? Oh, it's just something. That's fine. Yeah, there's a slight melting of one of the capacitors down here, which is not the end of the world, it's just a plastic outer. If I do this again, I think I will heat up same as I did before and just capstan tape round here, but we'll test this first. But not after I've got some isopropanol and cleaned a lot of this. Now, this I don't fully recommend, but this is as bare bone as I'm going to put this to test. The power cable's in, but not switched on at the wall. The TV's on, and the TV's at the right channel. So if you hear anything, you'll hear it, and I'll turn off straight away. These are not bolted down. The heatsink there is not bolted down. The drive isn't either, but I just want to test. As best I can, I want to test. So I can take that off, actually. That's in the way. I know the drive works. Actually, leave that there. So I've got the power button on the front here, where I can just press and hold that one. The pairing button is underneath here, but that's the only issue. There's not 240 volts running through this. There is through the power brick. This has different voltages, hence the different connectors on there. But this will not be switched on for long. I'm going to hopefully, because the CPU, because the CPU's got most of the heat anyway, I'm hoping that the heat will disperse into this without it being on, and the fans will be on as well, hopefully getting a little bit of heat away if anything goes wrong. So far, there's only the hard drive that's missing, which connects onto here, but that shouldn't matter. Everything's on the chips. So I don't know why I've put that on there anyway. So what I'm going to do is turn, this goes bang, we've got a problem, on. Power light's on. We're on, we're running. I have 3 flashing lights already, so that's not helping anything. So possible because it's not fully rigged up to anything, possible because it's not actually working properly. Let's try. Hang on. There's 1002 as well. Oh, 3 lights are on. That fan's really going now. I've got a 0, 0, 1, 2. It shut itself off, and then a 2. Okay, so that doesn't like that. Heatsink isn't really hot, so that's fine. So I need to try that again, but figure out what the actual code was again this time. So yeah, it's working, but it's not. So it might need another flow on with the heat gun anyway. We'll see what happens. I've been looking around. It's still a GPU error, 0021, or it's possibly a Southbridge error, which I think somewhere up here. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give this another go with the heat gun, and yeah, I've got nothing to lose now anyway, because it's not really worked or anything. Power's definitely off. Difficult to get these out when they're like that, but I'm stripping it out back onto the board, give it another heat, see what happens. I'll try different flux this time because that other stuff doesn't seem to be any good. So we'll have a go and see what I can do. Well, I told you this wasn't a repair video. Right, here's what I've done. I've heated up again, used different flux. I think I might have used a little bit too much flux. It actually stinks in here. Right, just dismantle the best I can. So drive off, fan out, cover off. Now again, I've done the same, just put these over the top anyway. My problem was, when I was heating, so I was heating between either, the GPU and the CPU, it was getting nice and warm and happy and everything seemed to go in rather well, and the new flux underneath was bubbling quite nicely, so yes, gone between either. I heard a couple of bits of cracking, which worried me a tiny bit. And then I saw something going between here, almost like the entire traces had kind of lifted up off the board. None of them are actually broken. So it might have, it's delaminated itself off the board a little bit. Technically, it's not an actual loss, because I've actually figured out, I've gone through with this, it does power on, but it doesn't give me now a 0021 code. It gives me a 0003, which is power received from the power supply is inappropriate, and the power supply itself, when it turned from green straight to orange. So there is a fault, which is these two. I think the cracking that I heard, I think that might have hopefully have been that not delaminating itself from the board, but possibly just the flux just giving it an effect. I'm hoping. These two capacitors have now officially domed, starting to bulge. So the next option for me is replace them. I might even replace these two as well, because the rest of them look absolutely fine. Everything. It's these 4 capacitors here, because they're for the power supply. These ones are also for the power supply, for power regulation. Actually, they all are, to be honest. But those two, this one especially, definitely started doming. And I did put capstan tape on all of this to try and keep as much heat away from as possible, but it did start to go. So what I'm going to do is try and find something very similar, hardly in size. I don't think it's a matter on size anyway, is it? Or could it be? Yeah, that will actually replace them. So I'm going to desolder these two, fit 2 more capacitors, and just see where I am from there. This is now a chasing to hope that this is going to work. If not, it's a fail. Simple as. These things happen occasionally, but yeah, let me find some capacitors and see what I can do. When you try and do something, you've realised that you've just covered over exactly what you've just repaired. Sorry, there are 2 capacitors in here I've replaced. I've got a few old motherboards which are absolutely knackered and stuff, and luckily 2 exactly the same ratings were on there. So I've replaced those 2. Heatsink's back on. It's not thermal pasted, but it's on. It will do as much heat dissipation as I want. So I'm going to turn the television over to, hopefully, you'll hear something, but there's no guarantees on this. After this, I don't think there's much else I can do. Either I've broken the board, or I'm out of my league. But let's see, power's on, telly's on, front panel's on, drive's in, heat sinks are on. That's all we basically need, and I'm off of the bottom anyway on some plastic. So far. Let's try the power button. Green. I've still got my 3. Damn it. Right, let's see if them 2, flashing 0, flashing 0, flashing 0, flashing 3. So it's still not happy about the power going to the chip. The fans aren't working. Nothing on the telly. Yeah, I think I might have flamingoed this completely. There's a definite... The power supply over there is showing orange, so it's not getting the right voltage to this. So I don't think I've done too well on this, to be honest. Whoopsie. Well, at least the... for some reason... Oh, yeah, so that's 3. Right, hold on. There's 3 flashing lights on the front panel. I can't show it because it's kind of here and you're there. I've got a mirror, then yeah. But the power light is no longer flashing. That could be down to that anyway. Let me see about turning off and on. Orange over there. Oh, it went green for a millisecond then. It's definitely not the power supply, because that was working okay for a second ago. It's definitely the board. So possibly... This is very awkward getting one of these fixed. It could be yet another capacitor on the board. It's blown 2, or I've got something bridged over. It could be anything. I think the best thing I can do is probably do a soak test. Take everything off as much as I can and just run it and see what happens. Everything is off. There is no temperature at all in the GPU. There's no temperature in the CPU. The 2 capacitors that replaced are there. I can't get another power supply, so I don't have one. But we have already replaced the power supply. Right, all I can do is run and just see. I know it's probably in a low power mode, or maybe one of these has got something bridged underneath it. I honestly don't know. Power supply goes in there. I know there are lower voltages. I mean, I don't think that one, which with the melted side, is going to be an issue. 0, 0, 0, 3. Yeah, it's still clock cold. What is... Ooh. No. Nothing is warm. There's a tiny bit of a doming on that one. Maybe keep an eye on that, just see what happens. Nothing is overheating as I can feel. They're all really cold. So it's obviously switched on, it just doesn't want to do anything. I don't have any heatsink camera. Memories are all fine. There's something like a power regulator it looks like, that's nothing. And so far we've changed capacitor and changed error code, and everything just seems to be exactly the same. Any of these hot? No. No. There's a buzzing going on there. When I turn it on. It's quite weird really, because there's no speaker on here. The more I do it, it's actually getting higher. I'm turning the thing on and off all the time. That's off. So you can see on there I've got 3 lights flashing. So let me go around there. So that shows all 4 flashing on here. And then 0, 0, 0, 3. So only those are on. That goes back to 3 steady flashing. I think I'm on something here. Power off. Power on. They're definitely getting higher. Meep. Anything on these? Oh, I've just noticed something. Hold the press. Right underneath, I think I've knocked something off. There's a capacitor off there. That cannot be the only solution to it, can it? When we're heating, it might have got a bit too much heat on and removed itself. Or actually, oh yeah, it has to be on there anyway. That's just. I was thinking it maybe have come off as it's just never been connected, but that's definitely not on. That would definitely do a power supply because it is a capacitor. But I think it's going into a safe mode every time I'm turning it on. That's why nothing's getting hot. So what I'm going to do, I don't know, I'm going to go back in properly. I'm going to try this again. Actually, I'm going to leave that out. I'm going to resolder that capacitor on there. That's better. Resolder that one there back on. See if that makes a difference. Back again. Right, that capacitor's been sewn back on too. So I can't see anything else on here that I've disturbed. There's little bits of, alright, it's not plugged in. Bits of flux that I haven't bothered cleaning away yet. I really can't be bothered at the moment, and that shouldn't matter a single bit. Actually, there's a bit of thermal paste there. Okay. There is a burn mark on the underside of the board, which is banged where this C982 capacitor is. I don't have any of these sort of capacitors, and I'm not that good at soldering small things. So, right. With it as it is, I'm just going to turn on. I need to put the power button on. I don't think there's many other things I can do. I think I have cooked it. Right, let's try power on. Okay. Switched on. I've still got my 3. Let's try this again. 0, 0, 0, 3. There's definitely something not right with the power. Okay. Well, I think that's about it. I think it's swapped Gremlin from one place to another. It could be any of these caps that don't look like they've got a problem. Like I said, these are exactly the same rating. Exactly. I could replace these 2 possibly, but I don't think there's any point. And these coils might have gone. It's probably one of these chips. My rule of thumb with a lot of these, if you can see the numbers on a lot of these, on the little voltage regulators and stuff, even the chips, it's usually perfectly fine. if it's burned off the numbers and stuff, usually that for watching a lot of videos does mean to me that it's overheated and blown. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this, test a bit more, and get back to you in a second. I am puzzled. Everything I do ends up with a buzz somewhere there, and there's no speaker, there's no nothing. I'll try and put it close to the microphone so you can hear it. All I'm doing is turning the power off and then back on again. There. Oh, the car goes past. It doesn't help anything. And the caps still look fine. There's a couple of little bits on the bottom of this that are getting a tiny bit warm. They're not getting overheated. There's no power going to the GPU and CPU anyway. Otherwise I'd make them a lot more cleaner. But there's definitely something in that corner which is buzzing. It's on the top, it's not on the bottom. But like I said, the burn mark underneath is where that capacitor is, but it looks fine. Everything else looks fine. I cannot suss this. It's obviously shutting off because it's something shorting. So potentially the back end. I mean I think that chip was getting warm. Like I said, nothing on here gets hot. That burn mark. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I need, if anybody's watched this far, thank you very much. And if you can suggest something, why it's doing that, what you think that might be. If it's a case of replace these capacitors, fine. I can get some of those. But if that is the case, it's definitely voltage regulation wrong from the power supply, but the power supply is being cut off as it's on its way in, so everything just shuts down. If there's a buzzer in here, fine. If there's a buzzer in here, fine. I just don't know. So I'm going to leave that as it is for a bit. And anybody watching, help and suggest something in the comments, and I'll read them as best I can, and you can help me along with part 2 if I ever get round to this. Other than that, it's the end of this. It gives you a couple of clues of what to do if you're in the same situation. If not, yeah, it's not easy doing these, and a lot of these videos that you see repairing 360s, they don't go back to them, is the problem. So 3 years, 4 years down the line, does it work? Is it worth messaging somebody on YouTube and saying, hey, did this actually really work? Because you did this about 9 years ago, 10 years ago. Is it still running? Because to be honest, they probably won't be still running, because they won't be keeping them for that long. But let's see what happens with it. So please comment and please help best you can, and I'll see you guys. Well, follow me on social media as well. Help me being a patron and donating something. I'll see you in another video. Bye for now.